Just divorced, and the mistress is already calling to gloat. I closed my accounts and fled. My ex played dad with his mistress. Then one sentence from the doctor completely destroyed him. The moment I signed the divorce papers, my phone rang. It was Lynn Cece calling. I didn't pick up. But she sent a voice message. I tapped play. Her sickly sweet voice echoed through the office. Like poison dipped in honey. Hey there, big sis. Junjie is here with me in the delivery room right now. He says you'll see the baby first. After all, it's your husband's child with another woman. Her hand was laughing. Her voice was laughing. Every single word was climbing up my dignity like it was a ladder. My hand paused. Not from sadness. From disgust. That kind of nausea that churns up from the bottom of your stomach. It almost made me retch right there. Sujunja, that man, married 6 years, cheated 4. I caught them at hotels 29 times. Every single time, he'd say, she seduced me, honey. Trust me, he'd beg on his knees. His forehead slamming against the floor, thud after thud. Crying like a child abandoned by the whole world. The first time, I believed him. Because back then, I still loved him. Second time, I swallowed it, marriage needs work. The third time, I started collecting evidence. Because I found his chat history with Lynn Cece on his phone. He said that old hag at home was getting more annoying by the day. Always nagging about everything. You're the only one who gets me. By the 29th time, I already had a lawyer lined up. And I had frozen my heart solid. That iceberg grew out of my chest, through my ribs, through my skin, turning every soft spot into hard crystal. The clerk gave me my divorce papers. I stared at that little green booklet and suddenly laughed. Not from happiness. From the sheer irony. 6 years of marriage. 2,190 days. And in the end, all it amounted to was this tiny booklet. Worth less than the bus pass I lost back in college. Ma'am. Please verify your information, the clerk said. With that numb expression of someone who's seen too many endings. I took it and glanced at it. Sujunjia, male. 35 years old. Marriage relationship dissolved. Reason. Irreconcilable differences. No. It was because he's absolutely vile. Because when I was hemorrhaging from an ectopic pregnancy, he was lying in Lynn Cece's bed. Because the day my parents died in a car accident, he was out celebrating Lynn Cece's birthday. Because on the operating table, between life and death, he was holding another woman in a 5-star hotel suite. After we finished, I got up and grabbed my purse. At the door, I glanced back one last time. Sujunja didn't show. He sent his lawyer instead. The lawyer was in a sharp suit, a Jaeger-LeCoultre on his wrist. A polished, professional smile plastered across his face. Like a well-crafted mannequin. He pulled a check from his briefcase and held it out with both hands. Deferential as hell, like he was serving his biggest client. Miss Sue, Mr. Sue asked me to tell you. This 50 million is compensation. He hopes you won't disturb his life again. He said. You were married. He won't watch you suffer. 50 million. I looked at him, didn't take the check. 50 million. Sujunja's net worth is at least 4 billion. 50 million to ditch me? I'm no beggar. Or some worthless old hag he can toss aside. Miss Sue. The lawyer looked taken aback. He'd probably never seen anyone so completely unmoved by 50 million. Tell Sujunja something for me. I smiled. The kind of smile forced out from under a glacier. Ice cold. Keep his money for his own ruin. That body? In a couple years, this won't even cover the treatment. Oh, and, while you're at it, tell him I saw his liver function report. His alt levels are terrifyingly high. If he keeps drinking like this, he won't need to wait for prison. Liver cancer will find him first. The lawyer's face twitched, like he'd just been slapped. He clearly didn't expect me to say something like that. In his entire career, every divorced woman he'd seen was either sobbing hysterically or grinding her teeth in rage. But never one like me. Come. I read it like weather, then turned away. My heels clicked against the Civil Affairs Bureau floor. Crisp and sharp. One step after another, like a countdown. That sound had a rhythm. Click. Every step landing right on someone's heartbeat. At the entrance, sunlight slammed down on my face, so bright it stung my eyes. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Hey, Lawyer Zhou. It's me. The divorce certificate is in hand. Yes, proceed as planned. On the other end, Lawyer Zhou went quiet for 3 seconds. Then he said, Suwan, are you sure about this? Once this road starts, there's no turning back. Last ask, sure you want this? Because this isn't just a divorce. This is war. Sun so bright, it stung my eyes. But I didn't blink. I haven't shed a single tear in 4 years. Since that rainy night in the morgue, holding my mother's hand. I strangled my own tear ducts with my bare hands. I have never once looked back. 3 days after the divorce, police cancelled my household registration. I erased myself as a person. The registrar looked over my paperwork, rechecking, frowning deep enough to kill. Suwan, 31, unmarried, recently divorced. I placed my divorce certificate on the counter. That little green booklet against the stark white surface was jarring. Sure about canceling? This is permanent. Legally speaking, you cease to exist. Your ID card, bank cards, insurance, all void. Any assets you hold domestically will become unclaimed property. Are you sure? I'm sure. She stared at me like I was insane. And I was. But not that kind of crazy. This was the clarity that comes when you've been pushed to the edge. Like cliff standing, wind blasted, until the abyss stops looking so terrifying. Planned before the divorce. What Su Junjie never knew was that over these 6 years, I'd long stopped being the Suwon he thought he knew. He saw me as a waiting old hag. Thought I couldn't survive without him. Thought I'd be on my knees, crying and begging him not to leave. He thought my entire life. Shopping, cooking, waiting, my world. Had only one man in it. He was wrong. Dead wrong. He forgot, I topped university finance. Forgot that I'd won first place in the national mathematical modeling competition. Forgot that during college, I'd published 3 papers in core academic journals. Forgot that I gave up, for him, a full scholarship to MIT. That scholarship. $80,000 yearly, plus stipend and grants. Total value, over $2 million. He forgot all of it. Or maybe he just never cared to begin with. In his eyes, no matter how brilliant a woman is, once she's married, she should revolve around her man. She should stay home, worship her man. So when I didn't cry, didn't throw a fit, and quietly signed those divorce papers, he probably thought I'd finally accepted my fate. He bragged, Suwon came to her senses, knowing she can't survive without me. He didn't know that the quietest people are the most dangerous. A viper never makes a sound before it strikes. After my registration was cancelled, I boarded a flight to the United States. I'd bought the ticket 3 months earlier, first class, seat 3A. I chose it for the window, so I could watch the entire city fall away during takeoff. The engines roared to life, the plane shuddered violently, and then, ground surged back, city shrank, towers gone. They all turned into matchsticks. Those streets became thin glowing lines. All the people and things that once trapped me became specks of dust, invisible to the eye. Finally, the whole city blurred into a field of light. Like a jewelry box knocked over, gems scattered everywhere. But it has nothing to do with me anymore. This city I lived in for 12 years. It holds all my pain and humiliation. It has the hotel where he first cheated. It has the villa he bought for Lin Cece. It has the hospital where I almost died on the operating table. It has the morgue where my parents were taken. As of today, I'm done with it. But my score with Su Junjie isn't settled yet. On the plane, I closed my eyes. In my mind surfaced that night from 4 years ago. That night that changed everything. That night that turned me from a docile wife into a cold-blooded avenger. That day, I worked late at the office. Project deadline hit, alone in office. Staring at screens until nearly 1 a.m. I was 2 months pregnant and hadn't been feeling well. Didn't want drama. Pregnancy couldn't slow me. Sujunja had already said more than once, "Why work? Just stay home." Like hell I would. I needed him to know I wasn't his property. By the time I got home, it was almost 1 a.m. Sujunja wasn't home. I didn't think much of it. He always said he was out socializing. 20 days a month, he didn't eat at home. Every time I asked, it was dinner with clients, dinner with the boss, dinner with friends. I'd stopped bothering to ask. Asking only ever got me lies anyway. What difference did it make? I showered and got ready for bed. Suddenly, sharp stomach pain. Not normal. It was the kind that felt like something was twisting inside. Tearing me apart from the inside. Like someone had reached into my gut. Grabbed my insides, and was slowly pulling them out. I curled up on the bed, cold sweat soaking through my pajamas. The sheets were drenched. I grabbed my phone. And called Sujunja. No answer. I called again. Still no answer. I called his driver. Driver Wang served Sujunja 8 years. A decent man. The phone rang for a long time before he picked up. Driver Wang's voice was heavy with sleep. "Madam. It's so late. What's the matter? Where's Junjia?" My voice was already shaking, not from the cold, but from the pain. "Mr. Su?" Driver Wang hesitated. Mr. Su had no plans tonight. He dropped me off East Side earlier. Said no ride back, go home first. I know that neighborhood. Emerald Bay, east side of town. Upscale area, units cost 20M plus. Because last month, I accidentally saw Sujunja's phone location. It was right there. I spent $30,000. Hire a PI to check property records. It's registered in Lin Cece's name. Lin Cece. My college junior. 2 years below me, majored in marketing. I used to treat her like my own little sister. When she first got to campus, she didn't know anything. I helped her through enrollment. I helped her find a dorm room. I taught her which classes to take. Her family didn't have much money. I took her out to eat and never let her pay. I even bought her new clothes for the holidays. When I got married, she wore my custom bridesmaid dress. She stood behind me, smiling brighter than the flowers. She raised her glass and said, "You have to be happy, sis." Her eyes were full of what looked like sincerity. Back then, all I saw in her eyes was sincerity. I didn't see it at all. She was looking at the man standing next to me. That night, I passed out from the pain. The phone slipped from my hand, hit the floor, and cracked across the screen. Neighbor heard me knock over nightstand. That woman in her 50s. We barely ever talked. She knocked, no answer that night. So she called the police and an ambulance. If it weren't for her, would have died, hospital later. Ectopic, tube ruptured. Massive internal bleeding. Blood pressure dropped to 60. The lead surgeon later told me that if I'd arrived 15 minutes later, I would have been gone. 15 minutes. I vanished from Sujunja's life. For 15 minutes. And he didn't even return a single call. When the surgical lights went on, I vaguely heard a nurse say, "Blood pressure is dropping. Prep for transfusion. Notify the family." Then I blacked out completely. That feeling of losing consciousness was strange. Like a light. Everything off, no sound or light. Even the pain disappeared. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed, covered in tubes. An oxygen tube in my nose. On my lower abdomen, 10 centimeters scar, 12 plus stitches. The smell of antiseptic was so strong it made me nauseous. The curtains in the room were drawn. The light was dim. I didn't know if it was day or night. The doctor came in for rounds. The doctor was a woman in her 40s. Dr. Chen. One of the top OBGYN specialists in the country. She looked at me, opened her mouth, then closed it again. Finally, she said it. "Ms. Su. Your right fallopian tube had to be removed. The left side also has severe damage. We discovered during surgery that your left fallopian tube has extensive old scar tissue. Chronic irritation, likely. Natural conception? Very low. She was quiet for a moment, then said, about 1%. And even if you do get pregnant, the risk of another ectopic pregnancy. That day, I stared at the ceiling. I didn't shed a single tear. Not because I was strong. Because I didn't have the strength left to cry. The surgery had just ended. When the anesthesia wore off, the pain made my whole body shake. It wasn't the pain from the incision. Burning inside, like acid poured in. But that pain paled to chest's void. There's a place inside a woman's body that is now forever empty. Not just the part where the fallopian tube was removed. It's the place where motherhood lived. Carved out by an invisible knife. Dr. Chen later told me in private that my blood work showed abnormally high levels of a certain hormone. Long-term use of that hormone causes chronic damage to fallopian tube tissue and increases the risk of ectopic pregnancy. She asked me if I'd been taking any medication long-term. I thought about it and told her Lin Cece had once recommended a supplement to me. Said she brought it back from Japan. For pregnancy, one daily. Said it was good for the baby. I took it for almost 2 months. Dr. Chen's face went pale on the spot. Su Junjie didn't show up at the hospital until the next morning. Flowers, guilty face. That bouquet was pink roses. Lin Cece's favorite. Gorgeous, delicate, with water droplets still on the petals. He probably didn't even bother asking the florist what flowers meant what. Just said, wrap me up something expensive. He said he drank too much last night and didn't hear the phone. He said he'd be more careful from now on. He said, honey, I'm sorry. I'll be better. I stared. 6 years, yet a stranger now. Slept next to it for 6 years. But in that moment, I felt like I'd never met this person before. His eyebrows, his eyes, his nose, his mouth. Every feature was there, but put together. They formed a man I didn't recognize. Those flowers were pink. I never told him what colors I liked. Because he never asked. 6 years of marriage. And he didn't even know what I like to eat. He didn't know I hate cilantro or that I'm allergic to peanuts. He didn't know my favorite color is black. He didn't know anything. Because he never wanted to know. Those 7 days in the hospital. He only came twice, and each time he stayed less than half an hour. The first time, he stayed 15 minutes and took 2 calls. One from his company, one from Lin Cece. When he was on the phone with Lin Cece, he stepped outside the room, but through the door. I heard him laugh and say he'd come over tonight. Wait for me. The second time, he stayed 20 minutes. 10 of those he spent scrolling on his phone, 5 on calls. The time he actually spent talking to me was less than 5 minutes. He said, rest up, I'm heading out. Then, he left without a word, door ajar. Lin Cece, on the other hand, showed up. She wore the latest Chanel suit. Dark green tweed. 78,000 on the official site. 10-centimeter Christian Louboutin heels. Red Sol stark under hospital lights. And in her hand, a Hermes Birkin. That bag was one I'd seen in magazines. Never bought one. Over 300K each. She sat by my bed, held my hand, and with red-rimmed eyes said, Sis, you've suffered. He's just busy, don't blame him. He feels terrible too. Just last night, he was crying to me, saying how sorry he is. Her hands were soft and warm. But all I felt was cold. That kind of cold. That seeps out from the marrow of your bones, like someone poured liquid nitrogen into my spine. The perfume she wore was Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. So strong it made my head spin. Over 3,000 a bottle. That cloying sweet scent piercing the sterile air. Like an uninvited intruder brazenly claiming my space. After she left, a nurse came in to change my dressing and whispered, Your sister is so beautiful. Not my sister, I said. The nurse froze. She's my ex-husband's current wife. The nurse's hand stopped. The gauze in her fingers almost fell. She stared, speechless. Unable to find words. Her face went from shock to anger. And finally to a kind of pity I couldn't quite name. That pity hurt worse than any cruelty. I smiled and said nothing more. That day, I swore that in this lifetime, I would never shed another tear for anyone. From then on, I began to plan. It took me 3 years to do 4 things. Every single thing I did was like dropping a stone into a well. The sound was small, but the water at the bottom was slowly rising. One day, it would fill that well completely, and then spill over, drowning everything around it. The first thing I did, I found the financial loopholes in Su Junjia's company. He runs an import-export business. Looks impressive on the surface, with over $1 billion in annual revenue. But the truth is, when it comes to business, this man has one fatal flaw: greed. And not just greedy, he's also stupid. He thought if he made the books look flashy and complicated enough, no one would ever figure it out. What he didn't know was that in the eyes of a professional, those financial tricks were child's play. Childish. He never let me get involved in the company. He said women shouldn't meddle in business. But he forgot. I majored in accounting and won national math modeling competition. And back in college, my roommate Fong Lin, above me in the bunk, after graduation, went to work at Su Junjia's company. On my recommendation, Fong Lin, my college roommate. For 4 years we shared that bunk. When she had nightmares, I'd climb up to stay with her. When I got my period, she'd go buy me brown sugar. She was one of the top students in our class. Passed all 4 CPAs on the first try. Scary scores. After graduation, one of the big 4 accounting firms offered her a job. Starting salary, $300,000 a year. But I went to her and said, do me a favor. Go work at my husband's company and keep an eye on the books. She agreed without a second thought. She never even took that offer from the big 4. She's been watching every single transaction for me. In 3 years, she put together a report over 400 pages long, documenting every financial violation at Su Junjia's company over the past 6 years. Tax evasion, falsifying VAT invoices, fraudulent export tax rebates. Every single case, I organized it all perfectly. In chronological order, with bank statements attached. Contract copies, invoice scans. Every page with its own evidence number. The total amount involved reached a staggering $1.2 billion. The evaded taxes alone came to nearly $400 million. Those numbers, if they ever landed on a prosecutor's desk, would be more than enough to put Su Junjia behind bars for 10 years. The second thing I did, I got my hands on Lin Cece. On paper, she's the administrative director at Su Junjia's company, making 30 grand a month. But really, she used her role to embezzle company assets and helping Su Junjia launder money. Every transfer record, every fake invoice, every fraudulent contract. I made at least 3 copies of each, stored in 3 separate locations. One in a bank safe deposit box, one with Fong Lin, and one with someone I trust with my life. Best part, of all expenses she charged the company, a third of it went to another man. His name is Zhang Hao, Su Junjia's business partner, his so-called best brother. They've known each other since college, built the company together, grinded side by side, drank till sunrise together, called each other brothers in every business deal. Junjia says, Zhang Hao is my most trusted person. Closer than blood. Lin Cece bought Zhang Hao a Patek Philippe Nautilus series. Retail price, $480,000. On the invoice, she listed it as corporate gifting. She bought him a vacation villa in Hainan. $23 million. Paid out of Su Junjia's company account. Booked as project investment. She and Zhang Hao went to the casinos in Macau. Lost $12 million. Su Junjia's money. All written off as overseas market expansion. Su Junjia knew nothing. Not a single thing. And third, I got my hands on the DNA report for the baby in Lin Cece's belly. When she got pregnant, Su Junjia was over the moon like a damn fool. He told everyone at the company, I'm gonna be a dad. Bought the whole office afternoon tea for 3 days straight. Spent over 100 grand. He even flew to Hong Kong just to buy Lin Cece a Bulgari jewelry set. Said it was a gift for the mother of my child. He posted the ultrasound photo on his WeChat moments with the caption, the greatest gift. Hundreds of likes. He didn't know he was in Dubai on business then. Out of the country for 20 whole days. And before he left, he even told Lin Cc, wait for me to come back. We'll celebrate properly. But in those 20 days he was gone. Lin Cc and Zheng Hao booked rooms together 7 times, each at a different hotel. From Four Seasons to Grand Hyatt to Park Hyatt, all 5-star. Every single night, the room was over 3,000. All on Su Junjie's dime. I paid a fortune, 800,000 in total. Bribed a nurse at Lin Cici's prenatal clinic. I got my hands on a fetal DNA sample. That hospital's private, so their protocols are pretty lax. 1 envelope of cash, and it was all taken care of. Then I spent 1.2 million. On the most authoritative paternity testing lab in the country. I paid for Rush, then laughed at the report. A full 10 minutes. 99.9999%. The kid wasn't Su Junjie's. This child, the one that made Su Junjie over the moon, the one he bragged about everywhere, he'd blow millions on Lin Cc without hesitation. Had absolutely nothing to do with Su Junjie. The father is Zheng Hao. I took that report. And locked it in a safe, waiting for the perfect moment. To use it. The fourth thing. I reconnected with my mentor. Professor Shen at MIT. Back then, MIT PhD in financial engineering, full ride. $80,000 a year in scholarship. Plus a $20,000 stipend and separate research funds. Professor Shen personally sent me the acceptance email. He wrote, I look forward to meeting you in Boston. You're one of the most gifted students I've ever come across. But because I told Su Junjie I wanted to go study in the US, he blew up on the spot. You're leaving? We just married and you're running? Do you not want this family anymore? His voice was so loud. The whole building could hear it. Stay home like a good wife. Why need a PhD? What's the point of a woman getting that much education anyway? Who'll want you after? Think I can't provide? Is that it? When he said all that, his eyes were full of pure annoyance. Like he was talking to some clueless child. So I gave it up. The full ride at MIT. Professor Shen's invitation. The dream I'd had since I was 18. I stayed in the country, took a job at some ordinary company. Did some ordinary work, and became an ordinary wife. Every day, cooking, laundry, cleaning, waiting for him to come home. Waiting for him to toss me scraps of affection and warmth. 9 years. In those 9 years, Professor Shen emailed me a few times, asking how I was doing. I never had the nerve to reply, because I didn't know how to tell him I'd thrown away his invitation. Over a man who wasn't worth it. But this time, I wrote him a very long email. I told him everything that had happened over those 9 years. No hiding. No sugarcoating. Like I was writing a work report, facts stated clearly. Logic airtight. I said, I'm back. No one stops me now. Professor Shen replied that day. Just one word, yes. I haven't told anyone about these 4 things. Not even Fong Lin. She only knows part of it. She knows I've been looking into Su Junjie's finances. But she doesn't know I've also been investigating Lin Cc. And Zheng Hao. It's not that I don't trust her. It's that some things, the fewer people who know, the better. The fewer secrets a person carries, the longer they live. Including my parents. My parents passed away 4 years ago. Car accident. October 17th. A Thursday. Torrential rain. Visibility on the highway was less than 50 meters. Parents drove over. I made your favorite pork rib soup. It's in the thermos, still hot. I told her to drive safe. If the rain gets too bad, pull over at a rest stop. My mom said, don't worry. Your dad's a steady driver. That was the last conversation I ever had with my mother. At 3:20 p.m., on the Hangzhou section of the G25 highway. A fully loaded semi-truck, driven by a fatigued driver, rear-ended my parents' car from behind. The truck was going 85 kilometers per hour. My parents' car was crushed into a ball of scrap metal. They both died instantly. No pain, the paramedics said when they arrived. There were no vital signs left. That same day, Su Junjie was celebrating Lin Cici's birthday. Lin Cici's 28th birthday. Su Junjie booked a presidential suite at the Four Seasons in Hangzhou. 68,000 a night. Rented whole restaurant. Spent hundreds of thousands. I called him 17 times. He didn't answer a single one. I drove to the hospital alone. That hospital was right by the highway exit. Small, old. Half the fluorescent lights in the hallway were dead. The morgue was in the basement. You had to walk down a long staircase. The stairwell lights were motion activated. Every few steps, I had to stomp my foot or I'd be swallowed by complete darkness. I stood alone in that morgue and identified my parents' bodies. Signed the papers alone. Handled everything alone. Sent them off alone. The morgue lights were white. Blinding white. White like the surgical lamps in an operating room. When I pulled back the sheet and saw my mother's face, it felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I couldn't even stand. There were no wounds on my mother's face. It was clean. She looked like she was sleeping, but her lips were tinged purple. Her eyes were shut tight. Her brow was slightly furrowed. Like she was worried when she left. Like she couldn't let go. My mother's hand was still warm, but I knew it wasn't body heat. It was from the morgue lights. That warmth was fake. Like one last hollow comfort this world decided to give me. I held her hand. For a long, long time. Until that hand turned completely cold. That was the coldest day of my life. Not because of the weather. It was because of people's hearts. Because I knew, in this world, no one would ever love me the way my mom did. Completely, holding nothing back. My dad's phone was shattered in the accident. But the police put the pieces in an evidence bag and returned them to me. Later, I had someone extract the data from the phone. Dad was still texting me minutes before the crash. The message never went through. The signal was bad on the highway. I opened that voice message and heard my dad's voice saying, "Juan, your mom and I are almost there. About half an hour away. Your mom made you pork rib soup. And brought your favorite sweet and sour ribs. Don't cook tonight. Wait for us to get there, then." Message cut off. I knelt at their memorials. And kowtowed 3 times. My forehead hit the floor. Thud. Every knock was like a hammer slamming into my heart. I said, "Dad, Mom. Don't worry. Your daughter won't be weak anymore." From then on, I became a different person. The old me would cry, would scream. Would hysterically demand answers from Sujunjia. "Why are you doing this to me? Do you even have a conscience? Are you even human?" I would throw things, smash mirrors. Sit alone on the balcony in the dead of night. Stared into space till dawn. Then I stopped crying. Stopped tantrums, stopped questions. I just smiled at his act. Smiling as I listened to his lies. Smiling as I signed and sealed the evidence of his affair. Every time he came home late, I'd smile and say, "Long day? Hungry? Let me heat up some food for you." He went on vacation to Macau with Lin Cece. And brought me back a silk scarf. I smiled and said, "It's lovely. Thank you." He even said to my face, "Suwan. If you'd obeyed earlier, I wouldn't have strayed." I smiled and nodded. But inside, I was saying, "Sujunjia, Sujunjia, Sujunjia, you will regret this. You will kneel before me and beg. But by then, you'll have nothing left." When the plane touched down, it was 3:15 p.m. U.S. time. I turned on my phone. And saw 47 missed calls. All from Sujunjia's lawyer. And one voice message from Lin Cece. I opened it. "Sis, she had the baby. It's a boy. 7 pounds, 8 ounces. Junjia is over the moon. He named the baby Su Tianxi. Said he's a gift from heaven. Sis. What are the odds? Your ectopic pregnancy means no kids. And God just hands me one. Isn't that fate? Don't be sad, sis. If you ever want to see the baby, I can send you photos. She's absolutely adorable. Big bright eyes, just like Junjia." Her voice was sickeningly sweet. Like a cake drowning in sugar. One bite. And you'd want to vomit. I listened, then smiled. Divine will. Yeah, divine will indeed. It's just that Lin Cece doesn't know this divine will. In airport bathroom. I faced the mirror and applied my lipstick. Dior 999, True Red. A color like blood. The woman in the mirror barely looked familiar. She wasn't the timid, submissive Suwan from before. She was a new woman. No tears in her eyes. Only calculation. Her gaze was cold. So cold it felt foreign even to me. I took out my phone. And sent a message to my private investigator. Send that DNA report to Sujunjia. Use the fastest courier. Priority overnight. Deliver it to his office. Address personally, confidential, addressee only. After sending, I pocketed my phone, dragged my suitcase toward the exit. The sunlight in Boston was glorious. Golden and bright. Sunlight poured across terminal glass, refracting into rainbows. Nothing like that rainy night 4 years ago. That kind of sunlight warms your skin, like someone gently patting your shoulder, telling you it's okay. It's all over now. When I got to MIT, I went straight to Professor Shin's office. He had aged. His hair had gone completely white, but his eyes were still sharp. Not the sharpness of youth, but the curiosity and passion that remain after someone has been through everything. His office was stacked with books. Bookshelves rising from floor to ceiling, every single book marked with colorful sticky notes, like a tree in autumn. His first words, "You've lost weight," I said. "Thin suits the camera." He laughed, sadness tinged. Heartache, but mostly pride. From his drawer, he pulled out an envelope. Manila paper. Its edges worn pale from years of handling. He handed it to me. Hands trembling. "Your acceptance. Full scholarship. 9 years. I've been saving it for you all this time." My hands were shaking as I took it. Not from excitement, but because those 9 years felt like a knife, carving away at my flesh, cut after cut, until today. I could finally throw away all that rotten flesh and grow new skin. 9 years. 3,285 days. I should have been here. At one of the world's greatest institutions. Working alongside the brightest minds on the planet. Doing the most cutting-edge research in the world. But instead, I wasted 9 years of my life. On a man who was never worth it. In a bottomless pit that can never be filled. I threw away my youth, my dreams, my parents. My child. But I don't regret it. Because, if I hadn't gone through all that, I wouldn't be who I am today. The me today is someone who crawled out of hell. And nothing can push me back down there again. Professor Shin hesitated, then asked. "That man, what do you plan to do about him?" I knew he was asking about Sujunjia. "Nothing," I said. "Let him live, for now." Professor Shin was silent for a while. He'd seen too much. Smart people doing stupid things. And too many victims. Becoming the aggressors. He was probably worried that I'd go too far. Those documents in your hands. If they're real, they're enough to put him away for 10 years. I know. I looked at him, not just prison. I want him to lose everything. And only then realize what he had. I want him to taste what it's like to have everything. Right before I take it all away from him. And then I'll strip it from his hands, piece by piece. It must hurt, like he hurt me. First he gave me hope, then he pushed me into the abyss. I want him to feel what it's like. To fall from grace. He stared at me. That look in his eyes was complicated. Admiration, worry. And a trace of something I couldn't quite read. Then finally, he patted my shoulder. The weight of that hand settled heavy on my shoulder. "Come on. Let me show you your lab." My lab. Those words, 9 years. Day 3 in Boston. I got news from back home. Sujunjia had received the DNA report. Apparently he was in a board meeting at the time, discussing the next quarter's business plan. A dozen or so people were sitting in that conference room. All of them top executives. The courier delivered it into his hands. He opened it while talking to someone, his expression as casual as if he were opening some junk mail. He tore it open, took one look, and his face went pale on the spot. And I don't mean that as a metaphor. It was literally a sickly green you could see with your own eyes. Like someone had drained every drop of blood from his body, leaving only blue veins behind. He slammed the report on the table, yelled meetings over and stormed out of the conference room. His chair went flying. His coffee cup hit the floor and shattered. Papers flying, board stumped. With no idea what had happened. Every single face full of confusion and fear. Then he went straight to Lin Cece's place. That villa in Emerald Bay, 25 million. He paid for it in full. It's in Lin Cece's name. The details of that fight came from Lin Cece's neighbor, who later told the private investigator everything. The neighbor was a woman in her 50s. The type who lived for gossip. That day, she watched the whole scene from her balcony. Her account was so vivid it put any TV drama to shame. When Sujunjia burst through the door, Lin Cece was feeding the baby. The baby was barely a month old, wrapped in a tiny white onesie. Little fists clenched tight, mouth latched onto the bottle, eating contentedly. The moment she saw the look on Sujunjia's face, she panicked, nearly dropping the bottle. "What's wrong? Why do you look like that? What happened?" Sujunjia hurled the DNA report right in her face. The report was in a manila envelope. When he threw it, the envelope burst open, pages scattering everywhere, drifting to the floor like snowflakes in winter. "Whose bastard is this?" His voice was so loud the entire building could hear. It wasn't just ordinary shouting. It was something torn, ripped from the deepest part of his throat, like an animal's roar. Lin Cece looked down, and her face went white in an instant. Not just pale, it was a chalky white. Bloodless, corpse-like. Her lips started trembling, her hands shaking. The baby in her arms started wailing from all the shaking. She opened her mouth, trying to say something, but nothing came out. It wasn't that she didn't want to, she couldn't. Her tongue felt like it had been tied in knots. Her throat felt like something was lodged in it. Sujunjia grabbed her by the hair. His fingers dug into her scalp, tightening. Like an eagle's talons sinking into prey. He snatched the baby from her arms and set it aside. So rough you'd never guess he was handling a newborn. The baby was dumped onto the sofa, crying even harder, its tiny face turning bright red. Then, he dragged Lin Cece off the couch. She was wearing a silk nightgown, no shoes. When she hit the floor, her knees slammed against the hardwood, making a dull thud. She cried out in pain. But Sujunjia didn't even hear it. "Who's the father?" Lin Cece broke down sobbing. She sobbed uncontrollably, tears and snot mixing. Curled up into a ball like a cat with its tail stepped on. But this time, Sujunjia didn't soften. He'd seen her cry too many times before. Every time it was crocodile tears. And every time after crying, she'd blow his cash. He slapped her. That slap was brutal. Hard enough to send Lin Cece crumpling sideways onto the floor. 5 finger marks on her left cheek, stamped clean into her skin. First white, then red, and finally purple. The corner of her mouth split open, blood trickling down her chin, dripping onto her $8,000 silk nightgown. "I asked you. Whose child is this?" Lin Cece held her face, sobbing. It's Zhenghao's." When she said that name, her voice was barely a whisper. But in that silent room, every single word hit like a needle piercing straight through the eardrum. Sujunjia froze. Zhenghao. His business partner. His best friend. The friend he'd known for 16 years. Skipped class, drunk together in college. Graduation. They'd been completely wasted, crying in each other's arms. Startup days, noodles, office sleep. IPO day, cheers, tears of joy. He treated Zhenghao like his own blood brother. Company shares. He'd given Zhenghao 30%. Every major and minor company decision he'd discussed with Zhenghao. He'd even been Zhenghao's best man at his wedding, and handed over an $880,000 red envelope. He'd even introduced Zhenghao to Lin Cece, saying, "This is my best bro. If you ever need anything, go to him too." Best bro backstabbed him. "How long has this been going on?" Sujunjia's voice suddenly turned eerily calm. That kind of calm. Terrifying silence, pre-storm calm. Before a tsunami hits, when every animal goes dead silent. 3 years. Sujunjia kicked the coffee table over. The coffee table had a marble top. Heavy. But one kick sent it flying like it was a cardboard box. Everything on it went airborne. Baby bottle, water glass, fruit bowl, remote control, and Lin's phone. All smashed to the ground. Shattered everywhere. Glass shards flying in all directions. One piece flew back and cut Sujunjia's own hand, opening a gash. Blood beaded up and seeped out. But he didn't even feel it. "You hid this from me for 3 years. Lin Cece knelt on the broken glass. Her knees were cut open, blood seeping through her pajama pants. Too scared to move, sobbing breathless. Shaking like a leaf. Junjie, I'm sorry. I was going to tell you, but what? But nothing. You figured out I could give you money, a house, a car. That broke-ass Zhenghao couldn't give you any of that. So you just kept sleeping with him while spending my money? Lin Cixi nodded through her tears. Tears and snot smeared all over her face. She looked like a complete wreck, not at all like a woman in Chanel, carrying a Hermes. Su Junjie stood there, gasping for air, his chest heaving violently. Like an overloaded engine, the bloodshot veins in his eyes spread like spiderwebs, the whites almost completely red. His hands clenched into fists, nails digging into his palms. Blood seeped through his fingers. Then suddenly, he laughed. That laugh was insane, not normal. But one squeezed through gritted teeth, laced with the taste of blood. An almost maniacal laugh. His whole body shook with it, until tears streamed down his face, like he'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. Do you have any idea how much I gave you? For that child? His voice trembled. But every word was bitten off with force. That villa, 25 million. The Porsche Cayenne, 2.2 million. That 30 million trust fund? I set it up for you. The day you told me you were pregnant. And those bags, those watches, that jewelry, all together, at least another 20 million. I gave you almost 100 million. All because you said you were carrying my child. His voice rose louder and louder until, at the end, he was practically screaming. And what happened? It turned out to be Zhenghao's. You went and got pregnant with that bastard Zhenghao's kid. And let me raise it, let me play the fool. Happily signing up to be the stand-in dad. He turned and walked away. When he reached the door, he suddenly looked back, staring at the baby in Lin Cixi's arms. The child was still crying, completely oblivious. He didn't know what had just happened in this room. Didn't know that the woman holding him was about to lose everything. Didn't know that the man standing at the door was not his father. That child. Su Junjie's voice suddenly turned ice cold. Cold as a freezer. Never again. That villa and that car? My lawyers will take them back. As for the trust fund, it's already been cancelled. You won't get a single cent. You and Zhenghao. I'll hold you both. The door slammed hard. The loud bang echoed through the hallway for a long time. Like a death knell. When I finished listening to that recording, I was in the lab debugging data. I took off my headphones. A few seconds of silence passed, then I kept working. My fingers flew across the keyboard as lines of code. Data streamed faster than I could blink. No thrill. No pity. Just a quiet confirmation that karma never misses its mark. But I knew this was only the beginning. For the next year, I studied like a woman possessed. MIT's financial engineering program is brutal. It's infamous across the country as a boot camp from hell. But I gritted my teeth and pushed through. By the end of the first semester, my overall GPA ranked first in the entire department. In one of the top 3 financial engineering programs in the country, a Chinese student took the #1 spot. I woke up at 4 a.m. every day and didn't go to bed until 2 a.m. In between, aside from eating and using the bathroom, I lived in the lab, every minute planned. My day was broken into 15-minute blocks. Meals never took more than 10 minutes. Usually just a sandwich and a coffee, stuffed into my mouth while standing by the lab window. My eyes still locked on the data on the screen. Professor Shen said I worked harder than the machines in his lab. I said machines need rest. I don't. But I'm not a machine. I do need rest. It's just that the moment I stop, those memories come flooding back. Su Junjie's face. Lin Cixi smile. My parents' funeral portraits. The cold air of the hospital morgue. Surgical lights over the OR table. The pen scratch on divorce papers. My mom's last sentence, the one she never got to finish. These images crawl out when I close my eyes, burrowing in through my eye sockets, my ears, my nostrils, gnawing at my nerves. It's unbearable agony. So I can't stop. I have to keep studying, keep researching, keep working on projects. I work till I drop, so I don't think. This state lasted a full year. In that year, I didn't contact any friends. I didn't post a single update on social media. I didn't make one personal phone call. I became a ghost, disappearing from the world entirely. Fong Lin sent me a lot of messages. I didn't reply, I just couldn't. Afraid tears would spill if I spoke. And I promised myself I would never cry again. A year later, Professor Shin called me in for a talk. Suwon, I've reviewed your graduation design project. He sat behind his desk, holding a thick stack of printed pages. That was my thesis. Over 400 pages. Every single page, crammed with formulas and code. This AI-powered financial risk management system, if turned into a product, would be worth at least $1 billion. I haven't seen such a complete graduation project in 30 years of teaching. You didn't just build a theoretical model. You ran real-world tests. Even the path of commercialization has been figured out. You are here to read a blog, or to start a company. I smiled. Professor, I want both. He smiled too. There was pride in that smile, admiration, and a little bit of worry. Like a father watching his child about to leave home. Silicon Valley. There was a business competition where the first prize was a $0.1 billion investment. Your project has real potential. Do you want to try? Yes. I answered without even thinking. Not for the money. For the win. To stand on that biggest stage. To make the whole world see my name. I want Su Junjie to see. The woman he threw away. Standing at a height he could never reach in his entire life. I want him to know what he made me give up back then. It wasn't just a degree. It was a ticket to an empire. And that ticket? I earned it back myself. And it's more valuable than the original one. Took 2 months. I built a 4-person team. All of them. The top PhD students at MIT. One was Indian. Named La Jieshan. A math prodigy who won a gold medal at the International Math Olympiad at 16. He handled the algorithm models. One was German. Named Mosi. A coding genius who worked at Google for 3 years. He handled system architecture. One was American. Named Make. A marketing expert who had started his own company before. Sold it for $200 million. He handled business analysis. And then there was me. I handled everything. I wasn't just the technical core. I was the team's spiritual leader, project manager, fundraising lead, and crisis control specialist. La Jieshan's algorithm had problems? I fixed it. Mosi's code wouldn't run? I rewrote it. Make's business plan wasn't persuasive enough? I redid it. Team had internal disagreements? I made the call. The 5 of us worked together to perfect that financial risk control system. We ran massive amounts of data testing and simulated trades. The final version could complete a risk scan and prediction across 41 major global financial markets in 0.01 seconds. Accuracy rate as high as 98.3%. This wasn't just an academic breakthrough. It was a commercial nuclear weapon. The day of the competition, I stood on the stage in Silicon Valley. Brisk English roadshow, 800 plus investors. 10 dense slides, all substance. Not a single word of filler. Slide 1, the pain point. Slide 2, the solution. Slide 3, the technical moat. Slide 4, market size. Slide 5, business model. Slide 6, competitive analysis. Slide 7, core team. Slide 8, financial projections. Slide 9, funding requirements. Slide 10, thank you. By the time I got to slide 5, I noticed someone in the 3rd row. A man in a gray suit, probably in his early 50s. Gold-rimmed glasses, every hair perfectly in place. He stared intently, name badge pinned. It read, Sequoia Capital. James Wen. Sequoia Capital. One of the most elite venture capital firms in the world. Period. And that's not an exaggeration. They backed Google, Apple, Amazon, Oracle, LinkedIn. Every single investment is a textbook case study. Every company they funded went on to change the world. They back world-changing firms. and the projects they pick almost never fail. His expression shifted from a polite, professional smile to genuine interest, then to shock. And finally, it became a look I knew all too well. Hunter's thrill, familiar look. When Su Junjie first laid eyes on Lin Cixi. When Fong Lin first spotted the holes in Su Junjie's company accounts. When the private investigator handed me the DNA report. That gaze, buried treasure found. Before I could even step off the stage, James. One was already standing at the backstage entrance. Long strides, fearing I'd bolt. Two assistants trailed behind him. One carrying a laptop. The other holding coffee, practically jogging just to keep up. Ms. Su. He extended his hand. His palm was broad and firm. His handshake was strong, almost like he was testing me. Your project. I'm in. How much? I asked. Blinked, shocked by my directness. Most founders, when they're standing in front of Sequoia Capital, are nervous wrecks, falling all over themselves with gratitude, ready to drop to their knees and kiss his leather shoes. But I'm not most founders. $100 million, he said. At what valuation? He smiled. There was admiration in that smile, and also a hint of challenge. He probably never imagined that a 32-year-old Chinese woman asked valuation bluntly, $500 million post-money. He said, that's our bottom line. I thought about it. 3 seconds, $750 million. He stared, silent for 5 full seconds. In those 5 seconds, the air backstage felt like it had frozen solid. His two assistants. They barely breathed, holding their breath. $600 million. He said, that's my final offer. And one more thing. I want a board seat. And veto power. Done. The moment we shook hands, the camera flashes lit up like crazy. At least 20 reporters staked out the back corridor. The moment they saw Sequoia shaking hands with a Chinese woman, they knew exactly what had just happened. The next day, my photo hit every tech front page in Silicon Valley. Forbes ran the headline, MIT-educated Chinese female PhD uses AI to disrupt finance, Sequoia drops a whopping $600 million. The Wall Street Journal went with, from lab to unicorn. The $600 million miracle of AI way tech. And TechCrunch's headline? This woman is rewriting the rules of Wall Street. But no one knew that just 1 year earlier, I was in a Chinese civil affairs office, signing divorce papers, walking away with nothing, completely broke. I couldn't even afford a one-way ticket back home. That night, I went back to my hotel room, shut the door, and leaned against it. I slid to the floor. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. Not from choice, my tear ducts had dried up. I sat there, hugging my knees, curled into a tiny ball like a little girl. My shoulders were shaking, but no sound came out. No tears either. I just sat there on the floor, for about half an hour. And in that half hour, my mind went completely blank. I wasn't thinking about anything. Not tuning out, I truly remembered nothing. All the hatred, all the schemes. They all just vanished in that moment. All that was left was a completely exhausted woman, sitting on the floor of a hotel room in a foreign country, like a bird, whose feathers had been soaked through. Then I got up, showered, changed, and went down for noodles. There was a Japanese ramen shop near the hotel, open until 2 in the morning. When I walked in, I was the only customer there. The owner was an old man in his 60s. When he saw me come in, he said "Irashimasu" in Japanese, then quietly made me a bowl of tonkatsu ramen. The noodles were incredible. The broth was thick as milk. The noodles were perfectly chewy, and the chashu melted in my mouth. I ate 2 bowls. After I finished, I sent Fong Lin a message. I did it. Fong Lin replied instantly. I always knew you would. I sent another one. Are you ready? The next phase begins now. Fong Lin replied with just one line, I've been waiting 3 years to hear you say that. After the company was founded, everything started exploding at lightning speed. I gave myself an English name, AIWay. Ivy. Like the ivy vine. In Silicon Valley's VC circle, nobody knows my Chinese name. Nobody knows my past. All they know is, I'm a PhD from China. who built the world's most powerful financial risk control system. 3 months after founding the company, we closed a Series B led by Sequoia Capital, valuation up 5 times. Our Series B was led by Sequoia, with participation from Lightspeed, Benchmark, and Greylock. Raised $400 million. Valued at $3 billion. From 0 to $3 billion. In under 6 months. What they don't know is, every single night, I log on to Chinese websites to check on Su Junjia's company. He's not doing well. After the divorce, his export business hit one major crisis after another. None of it was an accident. Every move was calculated. The first strike. His export shipment got seized by customs on suspicion of smuggling. 8 full containers. 80 million in goods. Locked up at the port. Completely frozen. Su Junjia was running around like a headless chicken, pulling every string he had, whining and dining customs officials. Spent a fortune on dinner and gifts. Eventually, the goods were released, but the clients, after a full month of delay, cancelled their orders. $80 million in goods left rotting in storage. Capital tied up. Cash flow strangled. And because of that, several deals after it collapsed too. The second strike. His top 6 clients quit in 1 month. Those 6 clients combined accounted for 85% of Su Junjia's total revenue. The excuses they gave were all the same. They found a cheaper supplier, better quality, lower price, better service. But the real reason? I had my American team reach out to every one of them. My team has the world's top analysts. They dissected every single one of Su Junjia's client purchasing patterns, price sensitivities, and supplier switching costs. Then they came back with an offer those clients couldn't refuse. Same quality. 30% lower price. Payment terms. Cut from 90 days to 30. Plus free supply chain financing. Those clients aren't stupid. They know which side makes them more money. The third strike. His CFO resigned. Fong Lin. The day she quit, she wore a bright red dress, full makeup, and 10-centimeter heels. Like she was heading to a gala. She walked into Su Junjia's office and placed her resignation letter on his desk. So gently, like she was laying down a flower. Su Junjia was on the phone when he saw her walk in. He frowned and hung up. He picked up the letter, glanced at it, and his face shifted instantly. You're leaving too? There was rage in his voice, and confusion. And a trace of panic he couldn't hide. Fong Lin, you've worked for me for 6 years. Have I not treated you well? Your salary went from 200,000 to 600,000. Your bonuses never missed a beat. And now you tell me you're walking? Are you out of your damn mind? Fong Lin smiled. A faint smile, as plain as a glass of water. But the meaning behind it was anything but. Mr. Su, I'm not crazy. I just don't see much of a future. Following a man who's about to crash and burn. Su Junjia's face flushed red. Stomped rooster, he leapt up. His chair slamming back against the wall with a loud bang. Who's about to crash? Who the hell do you think is about to crash? I'm talking about you. Fong Lin's voice was calm as a still lake. Mr. Su. You think no one knows about your tax evasion? Those fake VAT invoices you issued. You thought that was flawless? The export tax rebates you scammed. You think they'll never find out? Let me tell you something. I remember every single transaction, clear as day, and I have proof for every last one. Su Junjia's face went from red to white. Then from white to an ashen green, like a goddamn color palette. Why you? What do you mean? I mean you're done, Mr. Su. Completely done. With those words, Fong Lin picked up her bag and turned to leave. She didn't look back. Her heels clicked against the floor, crisp and sharp. Click. Like she was dancing. Su Junjia stood frozen, like a statue. He slowly sank back into his chair, his whole body collapsing as if the life had been drained out of him. He stared at the resignation letter, then suddenly lost it. Sweeping everything off his desk. The computer. Files, mug, picture frames. Everything shattered across the floor. After Fong Lin walked out, she called me. Her voice was calm. So calm you'd never guess she'd just walked through a storm. Wan, I'm out. He cursed at me for almost an hour, but I didn't hear a single word. Because I was busy counting the gray hairs on top of his head. By the time I counted 53, he was still yelling. Wan, he's only 35. He's grayer than my dad. I laughed. You've worked hard. Fong Lin said, not hard at all. Waiting for this day. Totally worth it. Su Junjie is running around like a headless chicken. Company problems keep exploding one after another. Losing clients. Inventory piling up, cash flow dead, banks demanding loan payments. Suppliers block doors for pay, employees quitting in droves. He's like a drowning man, desperately reaching out to grab anything he can reach. But every time, all he grabs is water. Water that slips right through his fingers. Water he can't hold on to. He called all those people who used to call him brother. Some were his college classmates. Some were his business partners. Some were friends he used to drink and sing karaoke with. He called them one by one. His voice full of begging. Old Zhang. Bro, I've hit a rough patch lately. Could you lend me some money to get by? Old Lee. My cash flow is a little tight right now. Didn't you say last time you wanted to invest in my company? Still looking for opportunities? Old Wang. After all these years of friendship, help a brother out. Every single one of them said money's tight right now, the company is restructuring, maybe try someone else. Those who called him brother, drank till dawn. Those people who took kickbacks from him, ate his expensive dinners, accepted his gifts. Those people who pounded their chests and said, whatever happens, just come find me. One by one, they all vanished. Like water vapor. Evaporated without a trace. He went to Lin Cece. Lin Cece said she had kid duty, no time for company. In reality, she was busy plotting with Zheng Hao how to move the money they'd squeezed out of Su Junjie. The two met at a coffee shop and schemed for an entire afternoon. Finally deciding to take what was left in the trust fund and transfer it to an offshore account under Zheng Hao's name. Then the two of them would take the kid and run. He went to Zheng Hao. Zheng Hao said his cash flow was tight lately. And he couldn't come up with any money. In reality, Zheng Hao had just bought a beachfront villa in Sanya. 45 million. Registered under Lin Cece's name. The two even went to see the villa together. On the balcony, they posted photos in a private album only they saw. He went to the bank for a loan. The bank said his company's credit rating was too low. Denied. Actually, the bank's credit department manager received an anonymous email. Inside, all proof of Su's firm tax evasion. Every page was annotated with the corresponding legal provisions and possible sentences. After that manager read it, he rejected Su Junjie's company loan application on the spot. He even blacklisted that client. What he didn't know was that all of this was my doing. That customs incident? I was the one who filed the anonymous report. I used 3 different email accounts to send 3 different tip-off letters. One to customs, one to tax authority, and one to the Ministry of Public Security. Every single letter came with detailed evidence, including customs declaration numbers, container numbers, vessel names and voyage numbers, precise down to every last detail. Those major clients he lost? That was my team in the US digging them away. We spent 3 months taking down every single one of Su Junjie's core clients, one by one. Our quotes were 30% lower than Su Junjie's. Our payment terms were 3 times longer than his. Our service was 10,000 times better than his. Those clients aren't stupid. They know who they should be doing business with. Fong Lin's resignation? That was my arrangement. She spent 6 years at Su Junjie's company. 6 years of swallowing pride for this day. She left. She took those copies of the account books with her. Every page was proof of Su Junjie's crimes. The bank thing? That email was sent by someone I hired too. I even paid good money to bring in a legal expert to write that email in a standard whistleblower format, citing specific statutes, attaching corresponding evidence reference numbers, so the recipient would know at a glance this wasn't some prank. But the deadliest cut was still yet to come. While I was bleeding Su Junjie dry, I started closing the net on Lin Cece and Zheng Hao. I had someone compile Lin Cece and Zheng Hao's transfer records chat logs, and hotel check-in records into a single file. Over 300 pages in total, neatly bound, sealed in a craft paper envelope. Sent anonymously to Su Junjie. The file included the fact that Lin Cixi used Su Junjie's money to buy Zheng Hao a Patek Philippe watch. Nautilus series. 480,000. The invoice said corporate gift, but the recipient's name was Zheng Hao. Lin Cixi and Zheng Hao. While Su Junjie was away on business, in the Emerald Bay villa Su Junjie bought. They lived together for 20 full days. In their chat records, the two of them were even plotting how to drain Su Junjie's company dry, how to move the assets overseas, how to make a run for it once everything blew up. Zheng Hao said to Lin Cixi, "Once that fool Su Junjie's money is all under our names, I'll marry you. By then, we'll leave the country and find a place where no one knows us. And start over." Lin Cixi replied. "When is he finally going to find out? Acting is killing me daily. I want to puke. You know what? He calls me every single night now. Saying he misses me, saying he loves me. Just hearing it makes me sick." Zheng Hao said, "Soon. Once he sells the company to us. I've already found a buyer. When the time comes, we sell the company, cash out, and disappear." Lin Cixi sent a smiley face emoji. "Then we'll take the baby and go to the Maldives. And leave him there crying by himself. That idiot actually thinks the baby is his. His ultrasound giddiness is absurd." When Su Junjie received this file, he was working late at the office. It was already past 11 at night, and he was the only one left in the entire company. He sat in the empty office, facing his computer screen. File page 1, cover. With a few large words printed on it. "Confidential, for Mr. Su Junjie's eyes only. Regarding Ms. Lin Cixi and Mr. Zheng Hao, supporting evidence and documentation." Page 2, contents list. Like a formal legal dossier. Page 3 plus, all transfers. With dates, amounts, accounts, and memos. By the time he reached page 20, his hands started shaking. By page 50, his whole body was trembling. Like a malaria attack, shaking so hard the chair was creaking and rattling beneath him. By page 100, he hurled his computer to the ground. That computer was the latest Apple model he'd bought just last month. Over 30K crashed loudly. Screen spider cracked, keys flew. Scattered everywhere. Then he grabbed his car keys and stormed out of the office. The first place he went was Zheng Hao's house. Zheng Hao lives in an upscale complex on the west side of town. A 2-story condo, 300 square meters. Su Junjie bought it for him 5 years ago. Paid 32 million for it. Zheng Hao said then, "When I have the money, I will definitely return it to you. I haven't paid any money yet." Su Junjie showed up at Zheng Hao's building. Rang the bell. No answer. He pounded on the door. Kicked it. Slammed it with his fists. Woke up the entire building. Neighbors opened their doors, peeking out. Someone called the cops. Zheng Hao wasn't home. His wife opened the door. A woman in her early 30s, in her pajamas. Hair a mess, eyes barely open. "Junjie? What are you doing here?" "Zheng Hao's not home. He's on a business trip." Zheng Hao's wife's voice, heavy with sleep. Su Junjie shoved her aside and stormed in. The woman stumbled back from the push, slamming into the wall. The back of her head hit hard, and she cried out in pain. Su Junjie went completely insane. He trashed Zheng Hao's place. Destroyed everything. The 85-inch TV in the living room is more than 50,000 Sony. He kicked through the double door of the screen refrigerator Siemens. Over 20 grand. He yanked the doors open and threw everything onto the floor. Milk, eggs, vegetables, fruit. All of it smashed across the floor. Washing machine, dryer, microwave, oven, anything that could be smashed, he smashed. He slashed the sofa open with a knife. Foam and cotton flew everywhere. He flipped the dining table. All the dishes shattered into pieces. He ripped the cabinet doors off, one by one, and stomped them to splinters on the floor. Zheng Hao's wife was terrified, hiding on the balcony, crying, curled up in the corner, hugging her knees and shaking. She called the police. Her voice shaking too much to say when the police came. Su Junjie was standing in the middle of the living room, holding a chair, gasping for air, drenched in sweat. His clothes soaked through, clinging to his body. His eyes blood red, like a raging bull. They took him to the station, held him overnight. The next morning, Zhang Hao came to pick him up from the station. Zhang Hao flew back from Sanya. 3 hours on the plane. The moment he landed, he went straight to the station. On the bridge of his nose, there was still a band-aid from the gym the day before. Hit by a dumbbell by accident. The second Su Junjie saw Zhang Hao, without a word, he punched him square in the face. That punch was brutal. Brutal enough to send Zhang Hao flying off his feet. The back of his head slammed against the wall with a sickening thud. Zhang Hao's nose broke on the spot. Blood sprayed everywhere, all over the white wall. Red specks of blood splattered across it. Su Junjie charged at him, straddled Zhang Hao, and rained down punch after punch, every hit landing on his face. His head, his body. Fist met flesh. Fist drew blood. 2 of Zhang Hao's teeth got knocked out. His lip split open, and a gash tore across his eyebrow. Blood covered his whole face as the two wrestled each other. From the police station entrance out into the middle of the street. Even though Zhang Hao's face was covered in blood, he was still a man after all. His strength wasn't much less than Su Junjie's. He grabbed Su Junjie by the collar, yanked hard, and they both tumbled to the ground, rolling around in the street, trading punch for kick, fighting with no end in sight. In the end, it was the cops who pulled them apart. 4 officers jumped in, 2 on each man, and it took everything they had to separate them. Su Junjie was pinned to the ground, his arms twisted behind his back. Click, handcuffed. Zhang Hao was held down too. His nose was shattered. He needed surgery. His whole face was swollen like a pig's head. Su Junjie got 15 days in administrative detention. Zhang Hao was taken to the hospital. Shattered nasal bone. He needed titanium implant surgery. Cost over 200,000, and he'd have to pay out of pocket. As for Lin Cece, once she realized the truth was out, she grabbed the kid and ran. But she couldn't get far, because I had installed tracking software on her phone. That software? I paid a fortune for it. Had a hacker write it for me, embedded deep in her phone system. Even if she swapped SIM cards, it wouldn't matter. As long as the phone was on, I could see her location. Wherever she ran, that's where I'd send Su Junjie's lawyer. She first fled to Shenzhen, holed up in some cheap motel. She thought hiding out would blow it over, but when she checked into that motel, she registered with her ID. The info in the system, instantly, synced to the Ministry of Public Security's database. Then she ran to Dingguan, crashing at a friend's place. That friend was her college roommate. After graduation, they never spoke again. She suddenly called out of nowhere. The friend thought she'd ask for money. She fled to Guangzhou, where they found her in a rental in some urban village. That room was tiny, less than 20 square meters. 800 a month for rent. Just a bed and a table in the room. 1 chair. Not even a decent window. Lin Cece was curled up on that bed, holding her child, shivering. When Su Junjie's lawyer broke in with the police, she was huddled in the corner with her baby, pale as death. Trembling all over, her lips cracked and bleeding. The baby was crying in her arms until its voice went hoarse. Its little face bright red. They took the child away, placed in temporary custody with Su Junjie's mother. Lin Cece was arrested on charges of fraud, and as an accomplice to money laundering. As they dragged her out, she kept screaming, my baby, give me back my child. Her voice was shrill like a slaughtered hen. No one paid her any attention. From my Boston apartment, through the security cameras, I watched it all. The weather that day was beautiful. Autumn in Boston is the most gorgeous season. The maple leaves outside my window were red as fire. Sunlight filtered through the leaves onto the floor, like shattered gold. I picked up the red wine from the table and poured myself a glass. That bottle was a gift from Professor Shen, from a small vineyard in Bordeaux, France. An exquisite vintage, over 3 grand a bottle. Delicious. A little bitter at first, but the finish was sweet. Just like life itself. I raised my glass. to the night sky outside the window and whispered, "Dad, Mom, this is the first glass. There's many more to come. Take your time, drink up."